The hell? All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
There we go. Holy crap! I'm clearly technologically challenged. I I don't know if I'm a legend in other ways, but technology is definitely not one of them, and especially X spaces. How are you doing?
I'm good. Phoenix, good. Good to hear from you.
Yeah,
Excited. Thanks for doing this as always.
of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you guys being here. Giving me a place to chat and chop it up with you guys. Um, yeah, it's I've been definitely MIA last week. It's been a little bit crazy on my end,
Yeah,
but it's
it's
good
all
to be
good.
here.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's all good. Hopefully, it's with good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely some good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It's been good. And yeah. How about yourself? How you been? Yeah. How's it been going?
Let's see. Everything's good. Starting the year off now. We got a month in. Everything's
It's
feeling
crazy.
good. Getting on track. Getting in the groove. Back to normal. Let's see. Yeah, no, everything feels good.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Trying to get some pieces of fall. I feel like you get some. It's like leads, right? You get some leads out there, and you just got to close them. Make them
Yeah.
just do some things for Legend. Like a lot of good ideas out there, um, but you kind of just got to close them. And people work at their own pace, so you got to honor that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. The meme coin space is it's an interesting space.
For sure.
And I mean, all of us, I think, got in here for some outsized returns. So it's
Hmm.
like everybody's kind of looking for that, and then find some good projects and support. But yeah, it's a definitely an interesting space for sure. Um, well, wicked. It's funny you mentioned leads and closing leads because that was actually on my mind in terms of chatting about mindset. So, well, I think I mentioned previously that I've got full time sales role and then am involved in like a essentially distributing a medical patch for wound care clinics. And I mentioned that because with the sales role, like there's been some. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning. Man, morning was just rough. Like it was rocky. There's one woman who's just like pissed, pissed at me for offering something, and but the very next, I was just focusing on my mindset and just trying to get in a good headspace. And the very next call after that, I came in with a lot of energy. I was focusing on bringing my best, and that one closed like instant. Like it was an amazing call, and it was good because I could tell it was going to change your life. But um, so it got me thinking about mindset and what mindset looks like and strategies that we could have to support like a strong mindset in regardless, whatever situation that we're in life. Um, So wanted to share a little bit about that. And as always, like I'd love for this to be an open conversation. Dude Pizza, Molly, it's good to see you guys, by the way. Um, if there's anything that you want to add to the conversation, directions you think we should go, like this is, to me, this is like a community formed thing. Um, but what I'll do is I'll start with why mindset is important, what it looks like, some of the different kind of high level, like we'll talk about growth mindset, fixed mindset, winner effect, Kaizen, a few techniques like that. And then chat a little bit about like, so first, why it's important to have a strong mindset, how it shows up, and then chat a little bit about what kinds of things could hinder or get in the way, and then focus on some ways that we could improve our mindset, in a more long-term basis, especially when there's challenges that we face, things like that. Um, so the first thing I want to mention regarding mindset, like we talked about self-love, we've talked about manifestation, and oh, by the way, I want to go give a quick update. What I'm planning to do is start keeping a document with notes, especially notes, both in the planning for these level ups and in notes from the conversation, what people share. So I will share that document once I get something like written up a little bit rough. It's going to be kind of rough to start out, but I think it would be cool to have like a continuation from each week. So yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
dope. Okay. Um, yeah. So regarding mindset, it's kind of related to self love and manifestation. I mean, there are some huge, huge benefits to having a strong mindset. When somebody is like anything that we have to do in life, there's obviously challenges that go alongside with it. And often, especially with doing things that are worth it, usually there are periods of suck, there's periods of growth, especially with learning new skills. When you think about programming and developers, like if you go through learning how to become a developer and you're trying to figure out the logic, like it is literally can be painful for the brain, because we're making and rewiring our brain to create new neural pathways. um, and at the same time, like our mindset and our belief about certain things can even change our experience of them. So like I'm just going to contradict myself right here. Even something as arduous as learning like more advanced mathematics with the right mindset, that kind of challenge, that kind of pain can be one of the most joyous experiences that people have, especially when somebody has a breakthrough and starts to understand a very complex or difficult topic. And we see it all the time with like the people who are celebrated here, some of the people in our communities, or some historical figures. Like these are often people who have gone through just insane periods of suck and challenge and strife, and who've risen above all of it to achieve something great. And a lot of times, some of them, like if you see a video of Arnold, he'll talk about getting a pump in the gym. There's a clip of him, getting that pump on the bicep where he's like, this is better than sex. Like you cannot replicate or beat this experience, this feeling. And so I say all that, give all that pretext because it's the mindset that determines our experience of all these things. And one of the most powerful mind. So before I actually get into that technique, that understanding of growth mindset. By the way, I think I'm preaching to the choir. So if somebody wants to add, or if you think we can go down a little bit more complex focus with mindset, things like that, like let's do it. Um, so thinking about some of the benefits, like it can change our experience about certain
Yeah, however
things.
you want to do it. If you want
Yeah.
to get complex, however you want to do it, whatever is more comfortable.
Okay. Okay, for sure. Yeah, my focus is just to make this as valuable as possible. And ideally, like to me, the most ideal situation for these level ups is it turns into a conversation between all of us, because I love hearing from you guys, your experience related to the topic, and some lessons that you've learned along the way. So related to benefits, there are like having a good mindset versus a kind of worse mindset can change our entire experience of life. Like somebody can see a certain situation and it can feel like like death in some cases, right? When somebody like you think about somebody being alone. Oh, Valentine's Day, that's a good example. Valentine's Day is coming up. Some people have, partners, some people have girlfriends, some people are spending Valentine's Day alone. Th- when somebody's alone, like a different mindset can completely change their experience and how they approach that holiday, right? Because to one person, being alone can be, oh, there's all these reminders of all these people, like I'm alone, I have nobody, right? And it can very quickly turn into a downward spiral versus a mindset of gratefulness, gratitude, appreciation, and love, right? Where there's appreciation for other people expressing their love for each other and appreciation for that time to be alone, to be focused on yourself, doing things that you enjoy, spending time with people that you enjoy, ideally with yourself as well. So the mindset can create, in some cases, heaven on earth, and in some cases, literally hell on earth, right? Depending on how we interpret or understand what's happening to us in life. And one of the most powerful things for me growing up, I was kind of, I guess, like certain things when I was in school, like grade school, I found certain subjects to be a little bit easy. And I was kind of praised for that ease, right? Oh, you're so smart, this and that. What I found as I started to get older, when I got into high school, I actually was like, when I faced more challenging topics in math, we started to get into algebra, trigonometry, chemistry. Like, when I was challenged, now all of a sudden my smartness was being challenged. My identity was being challenged, and I did not like being in these kinds of environments where I didn't really understand what it was like, how to kind of go about doing the homework or some of the subjects that we were talking about. And it made me, it felt like almost a personal attack when I was dealing with these complex topics. And what I found a little bit later when I was studying for the LSAT is that for a lot of my life, I was operating more from a fixed mindset. Um, are you guys familiar with fixed and growth mindset? I'll take that as a no. uh,
I
yeah, dude.
personally am not. I only heard from what you've told us in the past. So just a
Got
little
you.
bit about it, but not in depth.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So so essentially a fixed mindset is when we see our abilities as fixed, right? And on kind of very basic level, fixed and mindset are essentially our beliefs about ourselves. And uh, it's a belief about how our brain operates, right? So, fixed. What up, Molly? Okay, so you've heard of it, I think, and Molly, I think you mentioned it before too. Um, hell yeah. Okay. So fix, and definitely Molly, I would love to hear from you on your perspective on this, because I thought about this concept when I actually learned about it and thought about, like, when you go from a fixed mindset, how do you switch over to growth mindset? Very well. For one, how do you notice? And then two, how do you switch to more of a growth mindset in different scenarios, different situations? Um, so with a fixed mindset, it's a belief that our abilities are essentially fixed, right? And these can be different areas in life, like my ability to earn money, my ability to socialize, to date, my ability to let's say clean, or my ability to get stronger, right? To have fitness. If we think that our abilities are fixed, essentially our like skill level or capability in some area becomes attached to our personal identity, right? And a fixed mindset is like focus on a more of a static, like you can see certain indicators for a fixed mindset as when somebody describes their abilities as more static, right? Like I'm smart, or I'm a strong guy, or my body's just built like that, right? They're talking about it in very static terms. And some of the symptoms of a fixed mindset is when someone is faced with a challenge in that area, it it, a person becomes more nervous, a person withdraws from challenge, a person focuses more on proving their ability rather than improving their ability, because if we don't believe that we can improve, then the best that we can do is prove, and can kind of show off. And you see this when, like, this is actually a fixed mindset is a huge driver in sales, right? Where people who, let's say, think of their intelligence at a certain level are going to kind of show off, let's say, a Harvard sweatshirt or like a flashy car or kind of a designer handbag to show the world that, hey, this is who I am. This represents who I am. Whereas a growth mindset, that value is more internally derived because I'll talk about growth mindset a little bit. Growth mindset is basically the belief that we can change with effort, right? So whether it's my finances, whether it's my health, whether it's my relationships, I know that wherever I'm at, I can improve that. And so some of the symptoms of the growth mindset is actually an excitement by challenge, because the more that we're challenged, the more of an opportunity it is to learn. Whereas in a fixed mindset, more of a challenge is more of a threat to our identity. It's more of a kind of pointing out our deficiencies or kind of lack of skills in a certain area. So when somebody's in a growth mindset, more of a growth mindset in a certain area, let's say around finances, like it doesn't matter whether you have a car to show off or a house or this or that, because your focus is not on showing people how rich you are. Your focus is on growing your wealth, on finding new ways to earn more money, new kind of creative ideas or ways to grow your business. Um, Jeff Bezos is, I think, a good example. That clip where he was in the car in the Honda, and I mentioned this. There's certain things that we're talking about mindset in these last few weeks in different ways. But when he was in that car with the Honda, and he's just telling the guy like, "This gets me where I need to go," he was very, very much deeply embedded in the growth mindset related to growing his business, and he took every single effort that he could to stretch his abilities and try things that made him extremely uncomfortable. So, and some other symptoms that we can see, like in a classroom setting, with kids, some kids, when they're asked a difficult question, they become nervous, right? And we see this, I notice this all the time when I interact with different kids, nieces and nephews. Like sometimes kids will want to, show off, like, oh, I know, look how quickly I got this math problem done, right? Whereas when they're more in a growth mindset, they don't care whether you see that they got it done or not. They're more interested in like, hey, can you help me tackle this difficult problem? I can't seem to figure it out, but they're more kind of engaged and excited by the challenge and that ability to grow, that ability to learn. Their reward is that kind of new neural pathway that's created, that growth that they experience. Um, so when I was thinking back to my life and different times that I found myself in a rut or kind of down on myself or different challenges that I face in life, usually when I reflect on it, it's because I start to slip into more of a fixed mindset about different things, right? So in that sales example with the calls that I made yesterday, I had, I think 5 calls, all of them went bad, and the last one went really bad, where she was just like, you know, you're wasting my time. I don't want to hear anything that you have to offer. Like this is just another sales thing. Like, and it kind of sucked because she had opened up so much about different things that were going on. I knew that this would help her, but there was a little bit even before I got into that call, and there was actually a call earlier where the gal was like bought in this and that, but she was like, and this is an older woman. She was like, I just feel kind of weird, and I'm like, well, sorry, I think that's my fault. I was giving off kind of a bad vibe because I was starting to get into my head, and I started to have certain self talk questioning the previous sales that I made, wondering if that was just a fluke, if I'm not really the type of salesperson that I thought I could be or that I thought I really am. All of that indicates a fixed mindset, right? Because worrying about who I am as a salesperson is an indication that I don't believe that I could change, right? Whereas, and then I focus more on kind of getting myself more into growth mindset, reminding myself that okay, no, I'm making progress here. These calls, even though we didn't close, it progressed in this way, it progressed in that way, or I made these sales. There's certain things that I did that helped me to make that sale, and I started focusing instead on where can I actually learn from these calls that didn't work out. What can I gain? How can I improve from those calls? And because of that switch, because I started focusing more on shifting, one, recognizing that I was operating from a fixed mindset, but two, starting to shift over to more of a growth mindset, that next call, I was excited. I was engaged. And because of that, I brought a completely different energy. She was completely bought in. And my mind was also way more turned on. I was able to, you become more wittier, you become a little bit more, you're able to think faster. You literally have more access to more resources in your brain. It's wild. Um, and I thought about this also. I think another way that this really shows up is with young people today. There's so many young people who are facing a lot of challenges, a lot of pain in their lives, a lot of addictions, and like it's crazy. I was chatting with somebody else who's in sales, and he talks to people all day long. He's been in sales for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, on calls all day for the last 5 or 6 years, and he's like, he was asking, like, are Americans becoming a little bit more on edge, a little bit more sad? And, I think what we're seeing is a lot of things in our society just continue to compound, from bad food to bad, like, we're vaping all the time, like drugs, and then being on our devices, and also the messaging from media, right? When we're on Instagram, we're comparing ourselves to other people. What happens is that kind of comparison puts us into more of a fixed mindset. Now, I say that, like, there's also some level of personal responsibility that all of us have an opportunity to take. I think that's why we're here in Legend, because these same challenges also offer some of the most profound benefits and opportunities that we've ever seen in human history. It's never been easier to connect with people who are, very high achieving, people who have created massive success or impact in their communities. It's never been easier to connect with them, either through LinkedIn or to create a brand for ourselves through YouTube, and to curate a feed on Instagram that is actually inspiring and does promote more of a growth mindset. So there's that aspect as well. But when young people are kind of dealing with these kinds of challenges in their life, often what I've noticed in chatting with some of these young people, I go to kava bars here in Colorado. They're like sober bars. So you get a lot of people who are trying to get off alcohol, who might be actually dealing with even harder drugs, and they just want a place to socialize where, it's not kind of focused around alcohol or drugs, something like that. Well, mostly alcohol with bars. And when I go to these places, I meet a lot of young people, because for them, it's a place to hang out where they don't have to be 21, this and that. I just chat with them, and it is crazy how many young people are facing a very kind of deeply ingrained belief that they are who they are and they can't change. And they are, in a lot of ways, very afraid of stepping out into challenges, don't see the benefits of putting themselves into challenging environments, and shy away from growth because they don't believe that they can grow. And, I say that also for myself too. Sometimes when I would go into more of like and I'm just being very kind of open right now, like sometimes I would go into like a depressive state myself. If some things, I would kind of reflect on, oh, this isn't working out, that's not working out, some business deal falls apart, and I would find myself kind of fall into a bit of a rut. And it's always, always, always because I start thinking more in a fixed mindset. Now, to switch when I'm in those kinds of ruts, um, one of the most effective things that helps me get out of it, it taps into two well-studied phenomenons. The first is Kaizen, and the second is the winner effect. But one of the most effective things is for me to focus on just doing a tiny thing right now. And the question that I ask is just, how do I improve a tiny bit right now? That question is applicable no matter where we're at in life, whether we're, closing deals on a daily basis, continuing to grow our businesses, whether we're hitting new PRs, on a regular basis, not plateauing, or whether we're just starting out at the gym and haven't been to the gym for months. That question is always, always effective because it helps us hone in on where it is in our life, in that area of our life, that aspect of our life, where it is we can bring in some type of improvement. And to talk very tangibly about being in a depressive state, being in a rut, right? What happens usually when you're in that type of a state, you might let your dishes sit around, you might let clothes sit around, you might kind of fall back on some responsibilities, responding to people. And that question helps to uncover literally the solution right in front of us. It's not clean everything, it's just do a single dish, wash a single plate, right? Instead of taking off my shirt, just putting that one shirt away. It's that single step. Or going to the gym. It's like, rather than going to the gym, and credit to all the legends here. there's such a strong focus around growth and improvement in this community that is absolutely insane. This is, thinking about getting into more of a growth mindset. Being in Legend puts you in a growth mindset because of how much encouragement there is from everyone here to just do it, to just put in the work and find ways to improve ourselves bit by bit.
If I can jump in here, Phoenix, if that's cool.
Please. Yeah, please.
So pretty much everything you've been talking about is something that I feel like I've lived through. I mean, when you were talking about being like a very good student as a kid, I was in a similar situation when I was a kid. I was very good at math. And then as soon as it, and I was applauded by my parents, by my grandparents, by my family as some sort of whiz kid when really I wasn't. I just kind of was good at adding and subtracting numbers from a young age. I kind of figured it out. But then when the math got harder, similar to your story, I kind of was like, oh, maybe I'm not good at this stuff, and it kind of drove me away from that because I always felt like, oh, I'm good at this. This is why I do it. And my parents tell me I'm good at it. And the reason I know how to do it is because I'm naturally inclined to do it, or I'm naturally good at it. And it drove me once I started taking the higher level math, and I wasn't, as a wonder boy or whatever at it, where I had to actually work at it. It drove me away from it, right? And then I remember kind of growing up, whether it was sports or whatever it was, my parents were very much black and white, like, oh, this isn't for you, or this is for you, in a way. Very, I don't know, maybe where we're from, or the fact that we were immigrants or didn't have time, or whatever it was kind of like, hey, maybe you should stop doing this because you're not really good at it right away. And I still look at my dad and my mom, and they say similar things. So when I finished with school and I decided I was going to teach, and I read this crazy article on on growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and they were talking about kids as math students. So I was very intrigued by it. So I started reading it, and they talked about in Asia, non-specific Asian countries, but in Asia, they said that kids, when they work, their parents never congratulate them, and or when they do something right, they never tell them they're good. The reason they're getting it right is because they're good at it, or because they're so smart, or because they're the best. They never tell them that. And they always tell them that it's because they are working hard, because they are trying to learn, and when they are struggling, they continue to learn. And that continues to drive them from childhood through adolescence all the way through adulthood, and then as full-fledged on adults. So I read that, I don't know, I was maybe 24, 25 years old when I read that, and that totally changed my mind. That was about the time I was getting married, and it totally changed the approach as how I was going to raise my kids, and how I was going to run my life after I read that, because it made too much sense to me that everything up until then, I had thought that it was naturally God given, and that if it wasn't given to me by God, I couldn't get better at it. And I changed my mind. I changed completely, and then I started really reflecting and kind of looking back at all the things I had achieved. And it really was, hey, like, this is all because you worked through it. You went after it. If it wasn't going so well, you didn't give up, and you altered the change, and you weren't so hard on yourself, and you understood that it was a process. So since I've had children, uh, I've this is the approach I've taken with my kids. And I have two boys, and I have a girl as well, but I have two boys, and my older son is one that maybe isn't the most talented when it comes to things. But my approach with him has always been, hey, you're just going to get better at it. You can't stop, and you have to keep going. And he has done really well. He's only 11, but almost 12. But he's kind of every hurdle, every time he starts something, the level of improvement from when he starts to when he starts picking it up is really impressive. And the difference between him and my younger son, who's maybe a little more talented when it comes to sports and other things, he needs, with him it's tougher, right? Because he has this natural ability, And when things are tough, he tends to kind of get down on himself a little bit more. So I can see that's when I really have to step up and kind of just tell him, hey, it's okay. You you have to keep pushing through, and you have to, you're going to meet kids that are bigger and better and smarter and whatever, and you have to figure out a way how to get your level up, and that's going to require time and it's going to require effort. So that whole conversation that you talked at the beginning is just something that I've been thinking about a lot, and it's definitely something that the approach the last 15 years or so is the approach I've kind of, and it's really changed my life for the better. And I hope for my kids when we go forward that they don't, you tend to take things for granted, and you don't ever want to do that, because when you do, that's when kind of things start to either stagnate or fall apart. So you have to keep going, and you have to understand that nothing is nothing is fixed, and you can get better at stuff. And as we get older, and now as I'm getting older, like I'm not as, I used to be decently athletic and decently pretty good at certain sports. And now that I'm older and the body's getting weaker, and it's like I look at myself, and it's like I have to, it's the one aspect right now where I want to get better and keep pushing myself. And, it helps with the kids and they push me as well. But yeah, definitely that struck a chord with me, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, because I feel like my family has always been more of a fixed mindset growing up. Now I've kind of tried to change that to a growth mindset moving forward. So thanks for bringing that up.
Dude, of course, and I appreciate you sharing like your experience, because one of the other things that really jumped out, and I was thinking about talking about it. I'm so glad you mentioned that, like the specific language, like in how to approach children, especially whether it's our own kids, whether it's nieces and nephews, kids in our community, um, how we communicate with them, because kids are all of us are constantly pinging each other in terms of like what do we value, right? Like when I came into legend community, I'm like, okay, what does the legend community care about? Like what could I bring here that would be valuable? And in that sense, like for kids, especially when they're pinging us as adults, they're wondering and looking to us in terms of like, what do we value? How could they gain value with us, right? Like how can they develop a better relationship with us? And when we're focused on that kind of dynamic approach of like, hey, it looks like you're getting smarter. It looks like you've, like I noticed with my niece, for instance, she started gymnastics, and obviously kids they grow so quick. And she was showing me like, oh, I could do cartwheels and this. I'm like, oh my God, you must have practiced a lot. You must have worked very hard at it. And, to your point with your kids, like focusing on what they're learning, it it helps them to gain joy from the struggle. And especially with that article that you mentioned. Um, because once they find joy in the struggle, like the world is their oyster. They're gonna jump into anything that they don't understand.
That's a great
Um,
phrase, finding joy in the struggle. It's a great phrase. I'm a big silver linings guy, and
mhm.
I love that. That's a great phrase. I'm stealing that.
Is Silver Linings, is that the movie? Did they say that in there?
No, no, I like your phrase.
Oh,
The joy and finding the joy in the suffering. Like I said, I'm a big silver linings guy, but I like that phrase better. I'm
oh,
gonna
okay,
steal that.
okay.
I'm gonna steal that.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, and it was actually there's I think it was in the military, like, or I think it was the Marines, like loving this, or firemen, I forgot who it was, but somebody was mentioning like learning to love the suck. Like this sucks, but the more that you can love, and it kind of comes back to that Jocko Willink video of when things are going bad, that's good. Like that's all of it is good. It's just an opportunity. And that, like that video, I love that video because it taps you so, like it just instantly snaps you into more of a growth mindset of like, oh, things are fucked up, like everything's falling apart. Good. Like this is an opportunity for me to rise to the occasion, for me to kind of tap into something I didn't know was there. But dude, I'm curious, like, especially given your experience and what it was like growing up, what are some things that you do to help remind yourself or to keep yourself more focused in that direction?
That's a great question. I just I really just it sounds goofy, but every night I put my kids to sleep. We say things that we're grateful for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we're grateful every night before I try, as long as I'm home and as long as they're not asleep when I get home. Whenever I get home, I take them to bed and we talk about what we're grateful for, what we're excited for, and what things we want to get better at. And then we do that every night, and then we say a little
Oh
prayer as
yeah.
well. We're Christian, we say a little prayer, which is fine. And then I just think about my life, and I think about what my parents had to go through when we came here, and just a big change. And like, my kids are now about my age when I came here, and just thinking about how my life was compared to how their life is at the same age in this country is it's a big trip. I'll tell you that much. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a big it's crazy. Just kind of how me and my brother, like I have an older brother, and just thinking of how me and my older brother grew up in the United States when we came here compared to
Yeah.
how my kids are growing up. And then I'm just like, it's we've done well, so I'm very grateful. And when things aren't going well, I've learned, like you said, I've learned to embrace the suck. I love that phrase as well. Just kind of like, hey, this is where we get tested. This is why this is where you get to see if you're the person you think you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
When shit gets going, when everyone's the man or whatever, everyone's the boss. When shit's looking good, you're looking good, everyone's the man. But when shit hits the fan, are you the person you think you are, or are you like a overwhelming majority of the population? So, and I like to think I've always tried to be pretty good in stressful situations and pretty good in trying situations. I never try to be too high or too low. And yeah, I just remind myself every day that you know this life is this life is a life that I'm in charge of, and the shit that happens to me shouldn't affect my my daily my what's the word I'm looking for, my daily kind of approach to everything, because every day is a different day and it's a different opportunity to just
Mm-hmm.
try to figure something out, try to figure out it's a day closer, it's a day closer to something big, or a day closer to something small. It's just an approach. And I just have to remind myself every day. And I think with my kids that helps. It helps a lot. It helps having them, and me wanting to raise tough young kids and kids that can handle stressful situations and be the men that they think they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is so powerful because you're essentially. I mean, I'm a huge uh like I love the idea of sovereignty, of self sovereignty, of a person's sovereignty, especially before God, speaking to faith, or before Jesus. And what you're doing is giving your kids that authority to direct their lives, which is, it's such a powerful thing. And we think about on a community level or a national level, like, what is a nation other than a collection of individuals, right? And a nation is not stronger than any one individual. And in that sense, the more of us that are armed with these kinds of approaches, mindsets, kind of sovereignty over ourselves, the more our nation becomes that way. We become beacons for our community, for our kids, for our families. So, dude, huge shout out to you for doing that. And I took notes on those nightly things that you do with your kids. You said what you're grateful for, what you're excited about, and what you could get better at. Um,
Yeah, that's
Dude,
exactly right. Yep.
yeah, I absolutely love that because it's like a nightly reminder that I can get better, I can improve, and it's like, okay, what do I want to improve? It's like, talk about having agency in our lives, like that is giving the keys to us, giving us the tools, and your kids to decide that for themselves. So, dude, absolutely love that. I put that. I started the document too for Legend Level Up, so I'm taking a few notes here
Perfect.
and there. So I put that in there. So, and another kind of technique too, like. I used to write. I wrote a blog for a while, and I love to write. And actually, this worked most. I learned it when I was doing that blog, but I really applied it in law school because legal writing is tough and it sucks. It's dense. It's boring. Like you have to follow a framework. Very, very kind of rational. And so my focus was just whenever I was writing, like just make it shit and then make it better, right? Which completely removed the self judgment of, oh, is this good? Is this, which obviously that's, what is that? That's a fixed mindset, right? Which when there's a fixed mindset, what am I going to do? I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to pull back from that challenge. But that, write shit and make it better. It's like, okay, who cares? I'm going to get better. I have an opportunity to get better, but I can't improve if nothing's down. So let me just get shit down, then I can improve on it. And it opened the door to flood everything out. And it's actually it's been really helpful for me with speaking. Um, even with these spaces, I kind of just like, how can I make these as easy as possible so I can stick with them? And one of my focuses is like, hey, I might have some days where it goes better, some that it doesn't. But it's going to get better. The more that I do it, the more that I focus and try to make it valuable for you guys. And as people chime in, we have a discussion. Like it also helps me to kind of keep, and we're creating this together. Like this is not my thing. I'm just a community member, talking some bullshit. Hopefully it's not so much bullshit,
No,
but
I think you hit it on the head when you said like when we do stuff, I think the big obstacle for a lot of people is they think that it has to be good or better every single time they do something, right? And you're
yeah.
scared, like you're scared, is this gonna make sense, right? And this whole linear projection of success, like it's a linear projection, right? But it's like almost it's like a line of best fit, not really linear, if that makes sense, kind of speaking in
Hmm.
math terms. Because you're going up, you're sometimes it's going to be a great conversation, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's okay, and that's totally fine. And like you said, the importance is that you can always see the improvement from where someone started to where they're at now and going forward. That's huge. But I think the fact is that when you find a community like Legend, and you find a community where you feel like you can take those risks, right? Where you feel comfortable enough to take a risk to lead a show like this, Legend Level Up. For me, I've been writing poetry forever, right? Like I'm not as handsome as my avatar is. That's not really a picture of me. If you're wondering what I look like, I'm not bad to look at, but I don't look like Patrick Swayze in Point Break. But anyway, I digress. But I've written poetry forever, and then like when I started Legend, I'm like, I kind of felt inspired to write poetry, so I started writing poetry. And if I didn't feel comfortable enough in the group to express it, I would have never shared it. But I felt comfortable. And I
Hmm.
think some are better than others, obviously, just like anything else. But I feel comfortable enough to share it, and I think they're getting better. So just another kind of example of that.
Dude, hell yeah. Absolutely love that. And it's crazy too, especially when thinking about artistic endeavors. Like, until it hits somebody else's eyes, there's no opportunity for it to improve. There's no, because like not only do we see how people engage with the art, there's this really, like, I really, really love this analogy. It always stuck with me. It was from this book called the Mastery Over, I think, Mastery Through Achievement or something like that. It was an old Sufi poet. Sufism is like a branch of Islam. Um, Very, very old school. There's a lot of Sufi poets who have very profound, like Rumi. I don't know if you've seen Rumi quotes. He was a Sufi, but this guy was Hazrat Inayat Khan. But anyways, he was talking about like kind of sticking so hard to something in our mind about how something should look, right? We have a vision, let's say, of a painting, and it's in our mind, it's kind of fixed, right? Oh, this is how it needs to look. But the second we start painting, the paint looks different on the canvas. It runs differently, right? We might run into differences in how the colors show up. And if we stay fixed with that image that we have in our mind, we cannot engage with reality, and we're not able to actually create something versus understanding how reality is reacting to what we had on our mind and adjusting to be able to create something even better than what we might have envisioned initially. And it's the same with poems. Like, dude, I imagine, I don't know if you've read your poems, but if you have or if you haven't, I'm willing to bet that there's some things that you did that you're surprised how people reacted, and other things that you thought people would really resonate with, kind of forgot
Yeah,
about, you know?
big time, big time.
Wicked, dude, wicked. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's so important for artists. And I'm glad we're having this talk because, very selfishly, it's a reminder to me to put more stuff on YouTube and Instagram. You know, it's crazy how easy it is to talk about this stuff and then forget about applying it. But I think that's why it's so important to have these conversations, because often it can be a reminder of what's important, what will help move the needle, and help us progress to grow even more. So, and to your point about the linear growth, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because one thing, Dan Pena said this, and this always stuck with me too, about how, when you leave, you're going to have a lot of ups and you're going to have a lot of downs. What's important is not that your ups stay up and that you never have a down. What's important is that your downs continue to improve. So when you're down, if you look back a week, 2 weeks earlier, your down should be an improvement from where you were. And it really opens us up to, being more comfortable with those swings. And it's the same thing with our charts, right? If our floors are raising, sometimes that doesn't always happen, but there's other ways to measure growth too, in especially in crypto communities. But that was kind of all, all over the place. But dude, I appreciate you sharing your experience too. And there's one other thing that I did want to mention regarding growth and fixed mindset is that just because a fixed mindset is like it has certain symptoms where we shy away from challenges or kind of accept ourselves as being fixed at a certain area in our life. By understanding both of these mindsets and being able to adjust our approach in different areas, we can also adapt more of a fixed mindset for certain areas of our life strategically, right? So, I growing up, I never really cared about sports. I kind of got into sports, started following fantasy football, and had a lot of fun with it. It was cool kicking it with boys and chatting, but it was never something I really cared about. And as I got older, got busy with work, like I completely forgot about the Super Bowl. Then somebody mentioned it, and then the weekend of, I forgot it was happening again. Like, it's useful for me to be fixed and just like, I don't know jack shit about that. And even politics sometimes, like, I have certain political opinions, but these days it gets so divisive, regardless what side you're on, where it just becomes an energy drain, an energy suck. It's not about learning, it's not about people growing or understanding different perspectives. When that does happen, I think it's a great opportunity for growth. But when it's not happening, it's like, okay, I'm the idiot here, I don't know jack shit, you win, cool, I'm moving on. And it can be very useful to preserve our energy for areas that we do want to grow in our life.
No, for sure. That makes total sense. Total sense.
Wicked, dude, wicked. And by the way, if something else comes up, like as we keep rolling, please feel free to jump in. Like, I love hearing your input and your experiences too. And by the way, if anybody wants to hop up, I think I'm co-host. I think I can get it. I've been having some trouble with X, but feel free to request. We'll get you up. And then we can also continue the conversation in VC too. But some other things I wanted to mention, one being a very, very powerful mindset, or kind of, well, I don't know what to call it, but essentially the winner effect. And the winner effect is more or less a kind of, I don't, again, I don't know what to call it. I'm at a loss of what to label it, but it's something that happens to our brains, right? When it's the effect when a basketball team wins 5 games in a row, they're, like, I don't know, something 20-40% more likely than normal to win that sixth game. And it happens the same way in the other direction. On the, if somebody's losing, you're much more likely to lose. And I think this is why we see different spirals, different kind of seasons in life, where we can have upswings and potential downswings. Now, of course, it's not a perfect, like our memories paint a pretty rosy picture of the past, like, oh, that was like my bad time or that was my good time. In each time in our lives, like there's good moments and there's bad moments, right? Parts where we're progressing and parts where we might be regressing. But the winner effect is an absolutely, like, one, scientifically demonstrated, but an insanely powerful force, right? Having that momentum, and you hear it from people who are very successful, who've kind of experienced, like any of us who've played sports, right? When you're in whether you're doing real estate deals, like some of us are, when you are having wins with clients, or sometimes you have dry spells, right? And I mention that because it it is, I think, a huge opportunity for us to understand this and actually use it for our benefit. Because one of the most dangerous things is when we're losing is that we get into more of a fixed mindset and start to identify all the places that we're losing or why we might not be capable of doing something, and it puts us more into a loser mindset. We kind of, keep getting more of the same, right, and kind of keep proving ourselves right to some degree. And oh shit, sorry, my truck has a very sensitive alarm, and I always touch the key the right way to get it going. I've always thought about, like, how do you switch when you are losing, when you are kind of on a losing streak, when things don't feel like they're going right? Like, how do you make that switch? And this comes right back to that growth mindset and fixed mindset and encouraging more of a growth mindset, right? Because when we're and this also ties in with Kaizen. I think we talked about Kaizen before. Kaizen is this other concept. It was very popularized in, I think, Japanese manufacturing around the time with Toyota, and Toyota uses this in their own manufacturing processes and the managerial processes, where the focus on Kaizen is just taking one small step, making a very, very tiny improvement. And the way to apply like a Kaizen type concept is, if there's something that we're feeling challenged for in life, like we don't want to do, um, the focus is not on doing the whole thing, like we are talking about doing the dishes. It's just on doing one dish, putting one clothing item away. And the whole goal here is to start to build up momentum, right? So to apply Kaizen in our own lives is to focus on something that we don't want to do. Let's say you have to, you're writing a poem, and writing that first word or that first phrase and allowing ourselves to be open to continuing. But making that goal so small, it almost feels stupid to do, like it's too easy to do. And exercise is a great great kind of domain to explain this. But if you haven't been to the gym for a while, you're feeling lethargic, it's been months since you've gone. One of the best things that we could do is to do 5 push-ups. And 5 push-ups is even a single push-up, right? A single push-up might feel stupidly small, but it helps us to gain that momentum. And this comes right back to the winner effect, because it allows us to focus on, we when we stop defining ourselves on, like, am I fit or not, which is again more of a fixed mindset, and more, am I making positive progress, which gets us into a growth mindset. We can tap into Kaizen and we can tap into the winner effect and give ourselves props for, making that win. I'll give another very tangible example from dating. I mentioned Owen Cook a few times from Real Social Dynamics. He has this boot camp where, I mean, just very, frank, very honestly talking about it. He teaches how to do cold approach pickup, how to talk to chicks at the bar, right? And when I've gone to his programs because I was, I see myself as a little bit more introverted, more shy, and you get into your own head about chatting up different people. But and by the way, this, in terms of dating, like, making a good Instagram profile, hopping on Tinder, meeting people through your social network, all of those are like 100 times more effective than approaching a random girl at the bar. But the thing is that approaching a random girl in the bar can be one of the most, especially if, like, it's a group of girls, something like that. If somebody's not used to doing it, it can be one of the most intimidating thing that you ever do. Um, and uh, and it's crazy, like that public speaking, like it's crazy what we find ourselves afraid of. But one of the things that Owen does is he taps into this winner effect and I share this because it's a very tangible example, but we can use this in our lives. But he focuses on that winner effect of like, first off, your state is the only thing that fucking matters. Outside your effect, whether somebody likes you, doesn't like you, rejects you, approaches you, whatever, doesn't fucking matter. Your own state is the only thing that matters. And in that sense, like what he's doing is one, shifting us from a fixed mindset of like, oh, am I attractive or am I, cool guy or whatever, or can I get chicks? Takes us out of that fixed mindset because it doesn't matter whether somebody, fixed mindset says, oh, her rejection of me is an indication of my value as a man, as an individual, right? Which is that's one of the things that will keep us back in those social settings is like feeling like and same thing in sales, like dating and sales are very analogous. But um so the focus is one to focus on our own internal, self-validation, our own internal state, how we feel about ourselves being the most important, how much fun we're having ourselves being the most important. And then when you do approach someone, to start to build up momentum and build up that winner effect by regardless of what she says, whether she's engaging with you, likes you, or tells you, "Fuck off, you're a loser, you're a creep, you know, you're a fucking, you're nothing, you got a small dick, whatever." It's all good. You are 1,000 out of 10. Like you're the fucking man. Who the fuck would have the balls to do that? Like you literally pump yourself up for taking that action. And what that does is it again puts us in that captain position in our lives in that moment at the nightclub, bar, whatever, and puts us in control of our own state, right? And then we pump ourselves up, which gives us that dopamine rush, that kind of release of having won, right? The win isn't her reaction, the win is taking that action. And it's the same thing for those doing those 5 push-ups, that one push-up. Yeah, is it easy? Is it like stupidly easy? Is it almost not going to have any noticeable effect? Uh, well, I think actually it will have a noticeable effect, but it's not, you're not going to change in the mirror. But when you do that one push up, when you do those 5 push ups, when you write that first word, to really double, triple, 10x on that action, and to tell yourself like, I'm the fucking man, I'm the fucking girl. Like I I fucking did that. I pushed and I made that happen. I'm somebody who works out. I'm somebody who approaches like on the man. And then you do it again. Then you do it again. And that's how we tap into that winner's mindset. And it can be extremely, extremely powerful for taking full control of our emotional state, but more importantly, full control of our lives. Um, and I think it's especially useful in the meme coin space when people are trading or kind of working in a community, and maybe things, seems like things aren't working, to then change our dynamics from an external validation to internal validation. Like, are we taking the actions that we can take? Are we coming up with new ideas? Are we acting on those ideas? Are we connecting with each other? And it puts us into the captain's seat and helps us to tap into that winner effect that is so so powerful to get us on that upward spiral. Um, that we are at an hour. I think that kind of covers like the major stuff that I was thinking about related to mindset, and especially around switching a mindset. But I'm curious to hear, your guys' thoughts, and we can also continue in VC, continue here, whatever makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So thank you for sharing that. Um, it's interesting you mentioned it today because I was thinking about it today. I feel like every time the stuff you talk about, I'm thinking about it earlier in the day. So I appreciate that. That's for sure. I like that the winner effect. The winner, like WINNER, winner, like you're a winner. That's
Yeah.
what it's called.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I always think of that scene. Did you ever see the movie Summer School with
No.
Mark Harmon? Like he's so basically it's like an 80s movie, and he's a gym teacher, and they need a teacher to teach summer school. And like it's like a total 80s movie, nobody gives a shit about anything, like school's a joke. And
Uh-huh.
like he's gotta stay. He's the last teacher to leave for summer, so like the principal makes him stay to teach all the burnouts and all the kids that failed everything, like a summer school class. And like
Uh-huh.
anyway, so he teaches them, and at the end they're like going through their scores, and like obviously not all of them passed, and he's just like, look at the improvement. Like when you started you were at 5%, now you're at a 38. Like that's a
Mm.
crazy improvement, stuff like that. So when you were saying like how do you find wins, or how do you stay positive when things aren't going well, I think that's another thing. You have to get really good at finding wins wherever you can, and
Mm-hmm.
that you're when you lose, you're not every step or every decision or every action was a losing action, right? The overall might have been losing, but where you're at, look at these steps and how good you did here. Focus on the things that really went well, and there's always things you can work on. So like in a game, like I used to coach a really bad girls soccer team, and we'd come in at halftime and it was 2-0 or 3-0, and it's like, all right, girls, let's see if we can win the half, right? Or I think like it's like win the quarter in basketball, or win the next play, and just start from there, right? And kind of build on that. So that's another decent approach that I've used that's kind of worked well when you feel like things are kind of maybe going backwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it taps right into that nightly routine that you mentioned, like what I'm grateful for, what I'm excited about. It taps us into focusing on where we do have wins, where we did have wins, because it can be, easy to forget about that. And like that example that you mentioned from the movie, that, somebody might see that and think like, okay, I failed, we didn't pass this and that, but it's like, no, that's what, a 6x improvement? Like that's
Right.
huge. That's
Huge.
insane.
Huge.
So, dude, yeah, that is. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm taking some notes too. Absolutely love that. By the way, Fuji, what's going on? Good to have you.
What's up, guys? What's going on, man?
Fucking winning.
That's good. Winning. Yeah, no, when Molly said summer school, I was like, damn, I thought I was the only motherfucker that ever watched that movie. Like, repeatedly watched that movie, too.
It's
Such a good
fantastic.
flick.
It's fantastic.
They watch fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's fucking classic movie.
Yeah, hell yeah. Summer. What is it called? Summer school.
Summer
Yeah,
School with
you won't
Mark
regret it.
Harmon.
Watch it.
It's like
Watch it.
total
Great.
80s. Total
Total
80s.
80s classic. Sorry if
Hell
my
yeah.
voice is, I don't know if you guys can hear me now. My voice, I've been doing, so a buddy of mine that I got into real estate with, he has like a really decent sized office. Like he's taken his company and just fucking like 100x it since where we started in the business together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I am by no means considered a big broker in the space, right? At least I don't think so. So, but he has me come in and like talk to like, his agents and stuff. He's like, because you're in the trenches too when you start in real estate, right? All
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is fucking writing checks, getting rugged by clients for free fucking information, and then they
Mm-hmm.
use their fucking cousin or someone that just got their license, and they're gonna go get wrecked on the deals. Very similar to crypto, but I was
Mm-hmm.
fucking getting so into it today. I spoke the last 2 days, and I was getting so into it today. And then like this is the first time I actually got a fucking applause. Normally I get a that was great. Today I got a fucking applause, and it felt great. And I mean I was yelling. I mean I had their full fucking attention. And the guy told me, he's like, you have full reign. You can curse. You can be nice. You can talk shit. He's like, you can be political. He's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And I was like, perfect, you know.
Hell yeah.
So, and
Uh-huh.
and talking on these VCs, I noticed is what I think is the difference changer. Because if I can get in a room full of 300 strangers, I can easily talk to 100 fucking kids or even older
Yeah.
women that are looking at me that are like, what the fuck does he know? I might have done more sales than him or this and that or whatever. And one kid actually tested me. He stepped up to me and he's like, yeah, I looked up your sales. You only moved X amount of units last month. And I said, yeah, okay. I said, and what's your point behind that? And I'm like, do you know what else I do in real estate? I said, did you ask me that? No. I said, do you want to look that up? And he's like, nah, man. And I'm like, do you want to look that up? And he's like, no, no, cool. And then they all start laughing. He's like, my bad, bro. I'm like, I'm here to fucking help you. So, anyways, I blabbed for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, okay, I'm losing my voice, whatever. And then afterwards, they were coming up to me and asking me questions. This was the first time this ever happened. This is the best response I've ever gotten. So, just from speaking in
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Hey, Fuji, are you there? It kind of.
Yeah, I think you cut
Hello?
out. Yep, there you're back.
There we go. There we go.
There we are. Yeah, it's been cutting me in and out. But yeah, so I think these VCs are helping, So
Oh yeah, congrats. Good work.
thanks,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it was my buddy's like, dude, you're on fire today, man. He's like, what's up? I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I got a pump in. I was like, I got a pump in the morning. I was like, I don't know. I'm not holding back anymore. Before I'd be like, well, what I would do is your
Mm-hmm.
sphere of influence. That's what they teach us, right? Your sphere of influence. And the first thing I walk up today, I'm like, all right, what's the first thing they taught you? Your sphere of influence. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, your friends and
Yeah.
fam. I'm like, fuck that. Your friends and family are going to be the first ones to fuck you. And then, boom, had full salute, had their full attention. I'm like, if you want to get fucked and write checks for the next fucking 6 years, and your boyfriend or your girlfriend's gonna think you're a fucking loser, I go, and dude, I had their full fucking attention. And he was
Yeah.
like, and my buddy was in the back giving me the thumbs up. He's like, keep going, you know, you know. I'm like, this guy that started here, I'm like, he had nothing. I'm like, he was sleeping in his fucking car. I'm like, I'm gonna dox the fuck out of you right now. And I was like telling him, and he's like, oh, go ahead, man. I was like, this guy was sleeping in his car. His wife kicked him out because he was a fucking loser. And I'm like, look at
Mm-hmm.
him now. I go, he's got 120 of you. And I was just going, and I was like, it felt great. So
Dude.
even if Legend isn't growing, we're
Mm-hmm.
growing. So that's a good thing.
Dude, so well said. And like you mentioned, being in VCs, it's like, okay, I can talk to 300 people. What is this? And I think it highlights that like hyper growth mindset, that focus of like, I'm going to stretch myself over here. I'm really uncomfortable doing it. But once you stretch past that, like you come back changed. And it's like, okay, what is this? I'm talking to 20 people, like no big deal. I just talked to 300 over and over and over again to
Mm-hmm.
promote, to promote a community that I care about. Um, when one other thing that really stuck out about what you said is your response to that kid, like you made it very clear, like you're like, I'm here to help you. And I don't think I mentioned that, but it's such a powerful mindset to be focused on other people and what we're delivering for them. It really takes us out of our own mind. And, you can't be in a fixed mindset thinking about that, because the question is not, what do they think about me? The question is, who do I have to have the biggest impact for them? It's like an
Mm-hmm.
instant switch into like more of a growth mindset, um, tapping into more of our brain.
Yeah.
Dude, that is sick. Yeah, what else do you think helped you to unleash like this time? Like what was going through your mind? What were you thinking before that? Like were you pretty
Dude,
calm? Like
I've always been a fucking like yes dude and a fucking like I'll help someone before I help myself.
mm-hmm.
And now I don't give a fuck anymore.
Okay.
Be
Oh, okay. I was wrong. Yeah.
No. And
Uh-huh.
now I don't give a fuck anymore.
Hell yeah.
I'll give what I get, man. Now who I surround myself with is those are people I want to be around. Those are people that are like-minded, that are driven. Like we said, I've clipped homies. I ran into my one homie, dude, the other night and I haven't spoken to him in fucking forever.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "What's up, dude? You're big and bad on the north side with your crypto bros." He was like, He was a few other choice words. I'm not going to use them, but I'm
Uh-huh.
sure you guys could use your imagination. And I'm like, he's like, bro, you changed. He started that whole bullshit, and I was like, nah, bro, I haven't changed. I was like, I've gotten better. And I'm like, you're still at a standstill. I'm like, and I'm not hearing this talk shit. I'm like, you're so much better than that. I'm like, you're surrounding yourself with these
Mm-hmm.
fucking guys. I'm like, then you're way better than that, dude. I go, you come down to their level. And one thing David Goggins always said, right? Be uncommon amongst uncommon people. It's easy to be uncommon against common people.
Mm.
That's one of my favorite quotes he says. So, but I
Mm.
saw him, whatever, and then I was just like, fuck you, man. So, yeah, I was always a nice guy. I was always helping people first, thinking I would get that in return. Oh, I'm a nice guy. I'm going to help you, blah, 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 blah. No, so now it's just like, hey, man, focus on you and circle around, the people that you want to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps.
Dude,
So,
I absolutely love that. And when you say you don't give a shit anymore, can you chat a little bit about that? Like, you don't give a shit about what people think, or like what's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my one buddy, like I always said, the one kid, like, he would always tell me, he'd be like, Fuji's a people pleaser. Fuji's a people pleaser. Fuji's a
Yeah.
people pleaser. Right. And I was like,
Oh, yo, it's cutting out. Can't hear you.
Yeah, we lost you again, too.
hello,
There we
am I
go.
back? Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
I took it off Wi-Fi's, whatever. But anyways, my one buddy would always say it, and I'd be like, he's a fucking bitch. He doesn't know shit about me, you know? But it's like, wait. And then I got older, and I was like, this motherfucker's right. I am pleasing,
Mm,
and I'm pleasing the wrong fucking people. And then the minute I stopped doing that, everything changed. And then
mm,
essentially, when you're not good for someone anymore, what do? They talk shit, or they fucking they get away from you because they're no longer benefiting from you.
Yeah, that you said it right there. They're no longer benefiting from you.
Right.
Um,
So now they're like, I'm fine without him. I don't need him.
mhm.
So and then
And
when you disconnect, you're the asshole. So
yeah, yeah, which is it's fun. It's almost like a badge of honor, you know.
yeah,
Like you know that you're making a positive change for yourself, and it's crazy how much of a filtering mechanism it becomes, because the reality, like I really like what you said about being uncommon around uncommon people, because it is uncommon for people to promote each other and to want to see each other succeed even more than they succeed. And but that's how, a lot of very high net worth, very successful, obviously there's a lot of, exceptions to every rule, but
sure,
um it's like it's gonna filter out, because the people who don't like it are not the people that we should be spending time with anyways. They're they don't believe that they could change. Your progression is a threat to their lifestyle and their inability to make that change. And now they're reminded of all the things that they didn't do when they see you.
correct.
Rather than seeing your change and becoming curious about, like, dude, you fucking did what I didn't think you could. I'm sorry for how I came off. What did you do? How can I, instead of wanting to learn and wanting to grow. Um, and dude, this growth fixed mindset stuff, like I truly think, when I think on a community level, on a national level, world level, I truly think this is, the stuff of wars and peace. Um,
Well,
yeah.
and no, another thing, like all races have what's the word I'm looking for? Um, a
Stereotypes,
stigma,
or yeah.
a stereotype, a stigma, and especially with like you know European. It's like I don't, and I'm sure this is every race, every culture has it, right? But like I just feel, especially with like Greek people, they're real fucking like you came home, the neighbor has an S500 Mercedes. Oh fuck him!
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get an S600 because I'm fucking
Mm-hmm.
better than him. And then you see the races that have stuck together throughout the years, and they've created mega wealth and power because even if they don't like each other, like, hey, we have a financial gain. I'll put that shit behind me
Mm-hmm.
and let's move forward. So a lot of the cats I grew up with, I'm sure a lot of everyone on here has their own story with it too. How your people, as they call it, or whatever, or someone that's even close to you. It's like, hey man, let's grow together. But they got to be number one. They can't be even. So you need a
Mm-hmm.
boss. Look, you need a boss. You need a chief, right? You need someone to control people. That's just how it goes. But it's like if you're willing to work with me and create and build, it's like I think you said it one time, Phoenix, like people that you've talked with or dealt with or have been a part of where it started on a piece of paper and then it turned into, an X, 2000 million multiplier company over, a short period of time. And it was just a piece of paper and a pen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, with
So
the manifestation.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And then lo and behold, you have $100 million company out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is absolutely wild, and it's crazy what's possible. Like, the more we tap into this, and like, you're talking about like social skills in our social network, because it's so critical to be around people who reinforce that. Like, being around the wrong people, you could. I had some friends recently who, they're at this kava bar that I went to, and guys are very successful in their own right. They're making, pretty good six figures, and successful, but I could tell like one of the guys was very, he didn't like being wrong. He really, really hated being wrong to the point where it really pissed him off. If we talk about different things and, uh, at some point we would like, it's like he wanted to kind of argue about certain things around politics and something happened. Like he said something, we
So
were
he's
going
like a
back and
type
forth.
A personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Very competitive. Like he had to be better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different like, but it was better in the fixed approach, kind of like you're talking about with the Greek community. It's the same with the Sikh community in Seattle, where oh, look at how amazing my kid is, to the point of it's like, motherfucker, like the whole community suffers when somebody's not doing good. We are here to build each other up, and or at least should be. But that kind of fixed approach, it was a type A of like, I have to be better than you, and you being better than me is a threat to my identity. Versus more of a growth approach is like, I'm amazing at a few things. I want to keep getting better. I want to be around people who are better than me so I can learn from them. And I want to promote their success. I want to promote their growth. It was one of the things for me personally. I really tried to be that for other friends. I don't know if I mentioned him before. There's a really, really good friend of mine. We met at Dan Pena. I lived with him in Denver, younger than me, and I had a lot more experience, and so he would often come to me for advice, and I would give it to him. And he went on to actually become very close with Owen and actually work with Owen and the business that we're kind of both working in a similar business. And he gained more success. I was working on kind of bigger deals, but they didn't pan out. He was working on smaller deals. They panned out. He completed the thing, became a multimillionaire. I always made it a point to always support him and to never, if I felt something, to check myself and to remind myself that he deserves what he achieved because he fucking worked for it and he, had his mind on the prize and he kept going, he kept pushing. So I always tried to, and now I see him sometimes, I sign up for Owen's boot camp and he'll be there training and that's the fucking homie. We kick it and chat and it's as if nothing, and he can tell that I was never trying to hold him back, and it's such a powerful thing, not just to keep those kinds of relationships when people do become successful. It'll happen to all of us, right? People will, start out slower and just go out 10x, 100x past us. Um, it helps to preserve those relationships, but I think also for our own mindset to keep us focused on growing and winning and continuing to improve, Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but
What's up? What's up, Billa?
be Bill in the house. Well, dope dudes. Oh, there we go. Okay. Talk about a legend. What up, P Billa?
I think he's busy.
What's up, legends?
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry, guys, been running around. I'm here with my daughters, but I'm here listening.
Nice. There with the legends, huh? Your daughters?
That's right.
More legends. Surrounded by legends.
Definitely, definitely. Legends recognize legends, my friend,
Absolutely.
100%.
and legends breed them.
Yes. Yeah, well said. Well said. Future queens right there. Wicked dudes, good to see you. By the way, guys, I think if you, I would love to hear from you guys if you got more thoughts on the subject. I think we're kind of covered a lot. Any other thoughts?
Hey, Phoenix, I just wanted to say thanks for doing this again because I know we always say that, but this week, I think even last week was kind of oddball crypto market type scenario. Like things were a little off, no one really doing anything, people maybe getting wrecked. I don't know. So it was kind of like for crypto standards, quiet. Even Legend looking around, things were just a little quiet. So when you popped back up today and said, "Hey, Legend Level Up is on," I thought it was awesome, and I was really excited that you did that. I didn't want to like put pressure on you to do it and say like, "Where are you?" I figured you'd come through either way, but it was cool that you did this. I think this is a good spark for the week. even though it's Wednesday, but still, I think this is great. Thanks for
Oh,
saving
dude.
the week.
I don't know about say. I mean, I'm responding to the vibes that are here. You know, it's really it's you guys. But you know, dude, I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. And I actually felt bad because I've had to step away quite a bit and focus on a few other things. But I'm glad. And dude, I'll say like, please, you know, um, like I'm here for the community. So you know, if you want to like Phoenix, what the fuck? Like I'm open to it. You know that's how I'm. You know, we keep each other in check. Like you know, that's
Sure.
how we'll grow. So,
Yeah, no, it's great.
but you've got full. You know, like I, I won't be mad if you're like, yo, what the fuck?
No, all good. Speaking of mindset, like I've said this to like Molly and Fuji. Just I love these talks that you give and how you can do this. It's very impressive. Like I listen and I hear everything and I resonate with a lot of it. I just I don't know. I guess not something that I could speak on. I would say just maybe I have a different mindset. I don't know, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate it. And I'm kind of quiet on these because it's maybe not in my wheelhouse, but I love it and I appreciate it. So I'm glad that everybody here is contributing and stepping up, and they hear you, and everyone's sharing their stories, and you do a good job getting stories out of people.
Oh, I appreciate that, bro. I've had a I, you know, it was interesting, like growing up with a turban, like a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
some people are racist, some people are curious, some people are just confused.
Sure.
And then,
Bro,
uh-huh,
they see a turban, people, and they automatically assume two things,
uh-huh.
right? You're a terrorist.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm putting it out there. You're a terrorist, and you have a bomb strapped to you, and you're gonna blow up the fucking building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That right? That's just because that's what society has created. Up, you have a turban, you're considered a terrorist. You know.
Yeah.
But it's like if they actually talked and they knew like the what you practice and your beliefs, they'd be like, holy shit, you know, and how you speak and articulate yourself. And but
Hmm.
it's unfortunate, you know. So, but that's just
And
my take on how people.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting too because there's definitely I've encountered that, you know, good number of times growing up. But the biggest thing that surprised me is I realized that what I was kind of, how I was judging people approaching me changed how I saw them too, and then changed our interaction. Like some people would be maybe looking at me and my parents at a restaurant or something, and a part of me would be like, "Oh, the fuck, why are they looking at me, racist bitches, you know, this and that."
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
then I kind of caught myself and I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're just curious. And when I started thinking like that, it literally changed my demeanor. And the guy came up to me later and he was like, "Hey, I saw your family, saw you guys' turban. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I've met Sikhs before." And it was, you know, here I was projecting onto him what I thought he was interpreting. And he had a completely different
Were you
approach
just
than.
like, fuck, this
Yeah,
guy go.
exactly. And it's yeah, and I say that because it was really eye-opening to me how our, you know, expectation of how the world will treat us really influences it and can sometimes dictate it, you know. Um, and when I started to see people as curious, like I live in a small mountain town, most people that I meet here has never seen, you know, a lot of people haven't even seen like a black dude, you know.
I was gonna say a
Uh,
different person of color.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, you know, there's like Fort Collins, there's like two black people, and I saw one guy. I'm like, "Hey, how's it feel?" Teasing him a bit, um, but it's like it doesn't come to mind anymore because it's not what, you know, I'm like more curious about them and this and that, and like I kind of expect if somebody's looking at me, they're just, you know, curious, or you know, and I started to actually think like, oh, they're just, you know, they're starting to hit on me or something, which then that changes the demeanor too. You know, you walk around with a little bit, you know, chip in your step, like, oh, I'm the man, this and that, you know, and it literally changes our experience firsthand, and then people respond to that. They're like, why the fuck is he so excited? You know, like, What's he so happy about?
100%.
But by the way, I was one thing I want to mention, dude. You mentioned like kind of being. First off, I really appreciate your kind words.
Mhm.
But like, dude, I think I think everybody's experience is so valuable.
Hmm.
And even if we might not be like, let's say, quote unquote expert, like I think we've all engaged with these topics in different ways, and it's so like, it's so valuable to you. And chatting with you the few times that we've chatted, like I can tell, and I'm speaking for myself, but I could tell like you've got a lot of experience to share. I think more than you give yourself credit for.
I appreciate
I
that.
think a lot of other people would agree.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Like I think that's
Like,
I have full conviction in
yeah,
that.
and I think because I like enjoy doing things, and like just taking things on and figuring things out. Um, but that might be the mindset. So I don't. It's not like I don't um, relate to some of this stuff. I guess maybe my thought, like I
Oh,
don't
sure.
sit in that type of frame of mind as much. Like I don't. I even know this from past experience. Like I really like I don't even like have a short term memory. It's crazy. Like I know this because people like ask me questions about things that just happened. I don't even really know it. Like I know very big picture, and I know that like, is there something in front of me? Let's just get it done. And then when it's done, it's kind of just done. And we move on. Like you
Mm.
want to see Tio a coin? Oh, I don't know. Some people have done it before. Who cares? Let's do it. Not who cares, but like let's figure it out. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's move. And that's sort of what happens. Like I'll be playing like a sports game and or be in a big meeting and someone will say like, "Oh, what about that part where he said this to you?" And I'm like, I literally would not even remember like those details of the conversation. I know how the conversation went. Made it went awesome.
Uh-huh.
We might have closed the deal. It's great. We're feeling good, or the opposite. But like I don't even remember those things. Like it might even be like a good sports moment if it's me or even my kids. Like I could have like scored or something, and then it's like obviously if it's super important that's different, but like something might happen in like a game and someone would be like, nice play you had in the second half. Like I have no idea what you're talking about, or like I don't it just doesn't. I don't really.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, it doesn't register. I just move, and it's good and it's bad. It's more like just big picture and um,
You sound like a heat-seeking missile, like
I
just
don't know.
focused 100% on your target.
Yeah, just whatever, like just figure it out, just figure it out.
Yeah.
So I know, these types of discussions are great to help.
Good. Okay. Sick. Yeah. And it's interesting hearing your approach too, because to hear how you approach things, how it's because it's different. It's
Yeah.
different than I might approach. I definitely fucking overthink. I really overthink a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
No, like
but
I sit and think about like how to attack something, and I'm slow moving, um, but it's more like overall game plan type stuff, and like just
mm,
just how to attack something and then just do it. And a lot of times
hmm
I'm like, if somebody's done this before, like there's no reason why I can't do it, or like
yeah,
if this
100%,
has to be done, like why can't I just do it? And then sometimes I
100%.
just try to figure out how to do it later as we go.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Very well said. Yeah, that's so because it kind of it really it taps right back into having more of that growth approach of like they did it, why can't I?
Right.
Like I'm not bound by my circumstances or upbringing. It's just like it's possible.
Yeah.
um Wicked. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys, Fuji, dude, P Billa, Molly. By the way, for next week I was curious, before we wrap it up, I'm curious, what would be valuable to you guys. Um, I was thinking about talking about more spiritual aspects of like shadow work and self forgiveness. Might be a little bit too soft woo woo for some people. Um, Also, potentially talking about social skills, networking in like a business context, um, networking with high profile people. Um, or I think it could be useful to chop it up with between all of us, talking about sales, starting projects, what do you call, like setting up businesses around something, like, or also I can dig into user experience research. I've worked at Meta. I've done that as a discipline, and like, I worked on like CVS main website. In that discipline, essentially, that's like how to deeply understand people, so that you can kind of create something that fits what their needs are in like a business sales setting, things like that. So, what would be helpful for you guys or fun to talk about?
I mean, I like the last half of that, but again, I'm not the guinea pig here. I think, but like the networking and then the sales part, like I like that stuff a lot. But if
Cool.
it's separate or combined with the first half, that's fine. Whatever works for
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I'm good with everything, man.
Yeah.
I dig everything.
Appreciate that, bro. Okay, wicked. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, cool. I will. Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
focus.
I don't mean to
Uh-huh.
interrupt you, but I'm cool with anything to do with businesses and starting businesses, sales, marketing, any of that stuff really, really interests me. So yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be pretty kick ass.
awesome. You have your own business too, right?
I have a business, and I'm also my main business. I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate investor.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I buy, in a nutshell, I buy distressed assets. For example, like an apartment building that's foreclosed, and then we'll rehab it, and then we'll keep it as a rental.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the business is more in the properties, and then you you're also doing music too, right? Is that
That is not me. No, that's
No,
okay?
no,
that
Okay.
was
no.
Okay.
Fuji.
We're both in, and I'm not also doing music. I know you're trying to get it out of me, Phoenix. It's docked away, and you want to know what's crazy? After we had that talk, I actually pulled some of that shit up from my hard drive, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then some of it, I was like, "Whoa, this is shit."
Oh
So,
man.
so I was like, "Okay, that needs tuking." But yeah, by the way, Pabilla's horrible at what he does, you guys. So don't listen to any advice he says.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Legend
no,
salute right there.
he's a master of his craft.
Yeah. Yep. Hell yeah.
You know.
It was, yeah, awesome. Dude, and that's sick, Fuji. I'm glad that you at least looked at your music. That's hella funny.
Yeah,
Um p-
and
uh
like it was just bad. The timing was off. I was like, holy crap, this is shit. So
I mean, it sounds like you've grown too. Like, obviously it's at a different level. Yeah, there's that saying, like, if your stuff that you created before doesn't embarrass you, you're not growing. So it's a good
yeah.
sign. Um,
Well, we say that even with everyone that does content for Legend. You know,
uh-huh.
yeah. It was now like because now we we went back and we're using some of the footage we hadn't used or the whatever the memes, and it was like, wow, this is so bad it's good right now. You know what I
Do-
mean? So let's use it. Why waste it? Let's use it.
yeah.
And but yeah, and then you realize like, okay, so but it's funny because like so I never did my own social media. Another thing that I never did my own social media. I started to
Mhm.
do it, then I stopped once I got involved in crypto, whatever. Still do real estate, but I stopped doing it. Now I'm making videos on my Instagram and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting 1,000 views, 2,000 views for real estate, like
Nice.
my real job. And I'm like, and some people are like, people that have known me, they're like, dude, who made this for you? What'd you do? I'm like, I did. They're like, how'd you do it? I'm like, I downloaded a video and I added text. That's it.
Oh, nice. Uh-huh.
And they're like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. They're like, no, but the idea. I'm like, oh yeah, you got to come up with it, man. But it's gonna grow my other business, is what I guess I'm going with this. So
Mm-hmm.
it's we're growing, man.
Dude, you should definitely talk about that next week. Um, yeah, it sounds what I'll
Yeah, that's
do.
fine.
Okay, wicked. Hell yeah. I'm gonna put that down. Okay. Fuji on social media. And P Billa, like related to starting a business, like what's helpful for you? Like overview or more marketing side or sales side or
All of the above. I mean, I'll have to think about that, but I mean, I like all anything to do with business. Period.
nice. Okay.
From like the vision to the execution to the day-to-day operations, to the fires, the daily fires that need to be, get put out,
Those are the
Mm-hmm.
best.
all that fun stuff.
And what's in your business, like what would you say is the biggest lever that's like blocking your growth or that you want to what's the biggest piece that you'd want to understand to kind of accelerate your growth right now?
I know what it is. It's both of our businesses' problem.
Tell me.
Inventory.
Inventory.
Inventory,
But
finding
but
deals.
it's starting to come back. Yeah.
It's starting to go make. But yeah, growing in our business is like the hardest thing is inventory.
Yeah.
You don't have inventory, you can't grow, period. You can't sell, you can't buy, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just supply and demand. I mean, plain and simple.
Yep.
And
In
then
a nutshell.
when there's, it depends on the market. Like sometimes you're at a buyer's market, sometimes you're a seller's market.
Yeah. If you guys are both down, maybe we can chat next week about essentially growing real estate business
Sure.
and literally focus specifically. And I think it would be good to hear from you guys and kind of have an open conversation about that. Throw some ideas around.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Phoenix, do you have
Oh
any
yeah.
experience in real estate yourself?
Yeah, I manage a few rentals, this one in Drake, and then a commercial property in Seattle. So I managed that. There's 11 tenants. I managed that for years, and it was through the family, but uh, yeah, I did a lot of work there, and then I did a lot of work finding deals for the nursing home for the assisted living. So, but that was a little bit different. Like I was looking for off market facilities. So it was more about creating contacts there.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about the nursing homes.
Um,
You had mentioned that before.
but yeah, my it's more so my like people I know are much better in real estate. Like there's a cousin of mine, he was kind of like a late bloomer, but once he found real estate, I mean this guy fucking took off. He listened to was that Bigger Pockets like literally day in day out for years.
Yeah.
And then
Bigger
and then
Pockets is cool. I mean, just like anything else, you get a lot of good information, and then you get a lot of bad information as well.
noise.
I
Yeah.
followed them for years. So I mean, I practice the Burr method. The Burr method before it was
Mm-hmm.
popular. Like that's way before it became mainstream. That's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because Bigger Pockets and the Burr method and all these other, investors that have written books or whatnot, like they leave out some of the most important levers, or um, they just leave out a big piece of the puzzle that can really screw you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're
So
just lying to sell a book. And it's like
yeah,
and that's any business, I feel, right? No one's going to give the full secrets because then you have competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants competition. Healthy competition is good, but if you tell someone exactly what your theory is and they execute it
Yeah.
and they execute it better than you, say
yeah.
they're ahead of you.
A lot of these guys on, yeah, dude, totally. A
No,
lot
go
of
ahead.
these guys on Instagram or on social
All
media,
bullshit.
they're all most of them. Most of those guys are bullshitters. Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. They're just out there trying to sell a product, or they want you to go to their event, and then they want you to continue to pay.
You know,
Oh, pay me $6,000 to come to my next event.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's like if you're getting paid so much from the business, why you need to charge for teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Th-
There are a few guys online that are probably legit. But maybe we could touch base on that next week.
Yeah. Yep. I would just actually, I would love to, like, how to tell bullshitters from non-bullshitters.
Yeah, you can, if you're in the business and you hear people speak,
You know if
when
they're
they
lying.
talk too long,
Mm.
yeah, you can hear the smoke. You can hear all the smoke and mirrors, or whatever
As a
it's called.
more of not the investment side, the broker side. One of the best lines this OG broker taught me was, buyers are liars and sellers are storytellers. And it doesn't get any truer than that on both sides.
Nice.
Use it all the time. And if now, every time you guys go into a deal, whether you're selling the product, you're going to be telling a fucking story, and the buyer's going to be fucking lying to you. I can't buy it. I got to talk to my wife.
Mhm.
I don't know. Da, da, da. And you're just going to be selling the fucking dream. So there's nothing truer than that in any aspect, you know?
Yeah.
But
And from the investor standpoint, lawyers are deal killers.
Yep.
Remember that.
Yeah, oh yeah. 100%.
From the broker standpoint, that's what we call inspectors.
Yeah, if you want to lose a deal, listen to your lawyer.
Listen
Yeah.
to your lawyer or listen to your home inspector that's going to pretend to think he knows what's going on behind the walls, which he's not allowed to talk about anyways, but he's still, what do you think? They're slipping $50. You know, this is a guy got the job because some family member gave it to him. You know, he's making $300
Yeah.
a crack. He don't give a shit. You know,
Yeah.
whatever. He's doing 10 of these. He's making an extra $3,000 a month. He's like, cool. You know. So, but yeah. Oh, we could talk about that for hours if it's next week between.
Yeah,
You know.
fuck yeah. Okay, hell yeah. I'm pumped. And actually, as you guys were talking, you mentioned sellers being storytellers. I think that would be a cool topic too at one point, talking about storytelling, how to tell good stories, and storytelling in different contexts. But yeah, dude, next week I'm pumped. I think this will be really good. I've got a lot to learn too myself from you guys.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Definitely.
same. Wicked. Well, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. I mean, you guys are absolute legends.
This is awesome.
Dude, we appreciate you. We appreciate you doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Sorry I couldn't jump on earlier, but I'm going to definitely listen back on it.
Yeah, I will.
And I'm looking
I'll
forward
have
to
it
next
up
week.
tomorrow.
Sweet.
Man, appreciate you. Damn. Yeah, you guys. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun for me. So
Great.
it's cool to connect with you guys too. So
Let's do this. Let's legend some
Let's
people
go.
up.
100%. Yep. Next $100 million business getting born right here.
Yep.
Yes.
I
Hell
don't even
yeah.
know yet.
Pizza Bro had his $1 billion idea. Next week we'll have another one.
Hell yeah.
They're just going to keep rolling.
Yep, and one of them's gonna hit and fucking
Ideas.
legend to the moon.
Ideas are cheap. It's time to execute.
Let's go. Let's go.
Do it.
Yep.
Dope. Legend salute to all you guys.
Let's salute.
Let's do it. Listen, you still need a visionary, bro.
Yes. Yeah.
You need somebody with the vision, and then most of the time, the people with the vision are not the executors.
Nope.
But you need them to speak their mind, right? So the right person can hear it, and then the wheels start turning, and then they put it in motion.
Yep.
It's absolute truth what you just said. Albert Einstein said some shit like that. He said the one who created the problem cannot solve it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the guy creates the vision, but he's not a finisher. He's not a closer. He's just good at creating, and then it's handed off down the line, you know?
Big picture guy. Big picture guy.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
I don't know why something that you just said reminded me of the riddle. You guys have heard it a million times, and it goes, "He who made it sold it."
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm gonna botch this. Hold on. He who makes it gets rid of it. No. He who makes it sells it. Hold on. He who makes it gets rid of it. He who accepts it sells it, and then the guy that buys it doesn't know that he's using it. Something along those lines. Do you guys know what that is? You guys have never heard that riddle before?
No, man.
Think about it.
Bro, we're using up a lot of good content for next week right now.
This is just a straight up riddle, dude, because I was in Kentucky with my girls. They had a dance competition, and on the way back, we're always doing like we're always trying to solve riddles
Oh
or we're
wait, so
playing the
there's an
alphabet
answer to
game
that?
or,
I
or
thought it was like a
whatnot.
saying,
Yeah,
not a
There's
riddle.
an answer to it.
Ooh.
it
Yeah.
goes.
Oh, there's
The
an answer
man,
to that?
Oh,
the man
Oh,
who made
Yeah,
it,
Oh, I
there's
thought
an
it was like a
answer to it.
quote.
yeah. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
I
the
thought it was
man
a
who
quote.
made it sold it. The man who bought it never used it. The man.
No. The man who makes it gets rid of it.
Okay.
The guy who has it sells it.
hmm
The guy who buys it doesn't know that he's using it.
Okay.
Is it a coffin?
Oh my
Yes, it
god.
is.
Dark.
Wow. Get out of
Get
here.
out of here.
Get out of here,
Yes, it
dude.
is.
Get the fuck out of
I hate
here.
it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow. So good.
Yep. It's a
I
coffin.
did not
That's fun.
expect that. I thought it was gonna
Last
be some
thing.
profound shit.
Yeah.
Nope.
It is. It's like morbidly profound.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's hilarious. Well, cheers, guys. Yeah, we'll
On that
we'll
note.
pick this up. Yeah, we'll have a good. Yeah, no coffins between now and next week, unless we're selling it. But, but
That's a big business.
it is.
Legend coffins.
Everybody's got to die sometime.
Never
Dude,
going away.
that is the truth. Dan would talk about that. He's like, I've got mentees rolling up funeral homes. He's like, they're fucking printing.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's the truth. It is a little bit yeah, a little bit morbid, but wicked guys. Well, yeah, I'm pumped for next week. I think, and it's cool to see these evolve so it's most useful to everybody because I think we can like there's so many good minds here, so much good experience. Like I'm fucking pumped. So
Cool. All right. Awesome. All right, gentlemen.
all right, guys,
Till
Bye,
next
legend.
time.
later. Yep,
Yeah.
be easy.
Peace.